y'all, welcome to the live. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Noelle, aka MakeupEsquire, and today we are doing a quick get ready with me, and we're going to be doing a New Year's Eve makeup look. Hey, how's everyone? Just adding a little bit of a contour shade right here because I can't stand to see my lips just like without anything on them. So let's start out with some eyebrows, shall we? I have a few brow pens here. I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills and the NYX one. I use the shade Taupe and Medium Brown in the Anastasia one. Oh my gosh, yes, it is the last live of 2024. How is everyone feeling? I'm excited for the new year. I brought out some eyeshadow palettes. Y'all are gonna have to help me choose because it's hard for me to pick. I narrowed it down to these contenders right here. So I have the Natasha Denona Golden palette. I'm kind of looking in particular at this shade, or like if we wanted to get festive with the gold, there's some really pretty sparkly shades in here. I have to use this palette more. Although I will say the downside is that this shadow right here, even though I haven't even barely used this palette at all, is already kind of starting to crack on me. That's Kava. And then this one just came in, the new Natasha Denona Mini Mattes. It's called the Mini Eye Sculpt palette. I also have yet to use this Anastasia Beverly Hills Spice palette, this little mini eyeshadow palette. And I was kind of looking at these two shades here. Haven't used this palette yet. And then I've only used this Makeup by Mario one, the newest one that was just released. About like once or twice thus far. So I was looking at some of the sparkly shades in this palette as contenders for a fun New Year's Eve makeup look. And then also this YSL palette I thought was like the perfect quad for a New Year's Eve makeup look. So feel free to send your suggestions if you'd like me to use any of those palettes in particular. I try to get up on here with my brows already done, but today I was just kind of rushing and didn't have time. I know she has to be joking. She says she's not joking. Chinese food on pizza slaps. Oh my gosh, please send pics next time you eat Chinese food on pizza. Never know, might be a convert. All right, I'm just gonna be taking the NARS Soft Matte Creamy Concealer here. I'm gonna go in with my flat brush. For this step, I like to use something like the Tancedo KQ12S or this Makeup by Mario one that's just like a little bit thicker than the Tancedo one, and to just kind of outline underneath my eyebrows. I just think it gives a cleaner look. I know this is kind of extra, but I take a separate color in the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer on top of the brows just because this one's closer to my actual skin tone and I don't want that much of a stark contrast. Underneath, it's okay that it's like a shade lighter than my actual skin tone because that's kind of where we have like a natural highlight going on, or you know, like it's the high points where we don't mind having highlights. I was thinking like a sparkly eyelid. I'm tempted to use this one just because I haven't used it yet, but I was thinking maybe we can incorporate some of these too. Let's see the ABH. Okay, thank you for the input, Sylvia. I kind of want to test this ABH one out too. It's kind of random for me to have picked up an ABH palette, but I was hearing good things about this and I just liked how compact it is. So I figured it was like easy for travel and everything. And I thought maybe we can like mix these two glittery shades. Since this one leans more yellow and this one leans more pink, I thought mixing them might give us like a more champagne-y vibe. And then maybe we'll actually have time for a bright lippy this time since last time we didn't. So for complexion, so I did put on a self-tan today. So hopefully we get a better color match with the foundation. I thought maybe we can do a little bit of a mix of this McCreen Active skin tint. And it's a tad deep for me when I'm not self-tanned. So maybe today it'll be a better match, but it could still be a tad dark. So I did want to test these out on camera with y'all. I have testing them out and I will say that I've been pleasantly surprised with them. I'm going to mix this McCreen Actives with the shade 5. So I have the shade 4 and the shade 5. The shade 5 is like my actual skin tone, to my self-tan shade. And the shade 4 is a good shade for underneath my eyes. It's like a shade lighter than my actual skin tone. So I'm going to be mixing the shade 5 with the McCreen Actives in medium deep. So that's how those two look. And let's see, I'm gonna take my spatula here and kind of mix the two shades together. Armani and YSL releases all year have been misses for me, says Peach. Couldn't find the pigment in either of those two brand launches if I tried this year. I will say that I think the only thing I tried that was new from YSL were their new color stories in these eyeshadow palettes. Other than that, for complexion, I'm happy with their foundation. I'm happy with their concealer. I didn't try any of those new liquid blushes just because I'm not a liquid blush girly. It's just an extra step. I know I always talk about the fact that I'm always rushing to do my makeup before work, but if I need to like open up the container of liquid blush and then and you know, for brushes, I'm gonna try to be using like the best of the year brushes in this. This Bisciotto and Fude Bobo collab was definitely a favorite that was released this year. But what I was saying is, it's just like if a liquid blush, I don't know, if I could just like dip into the pan somehow in my head, it's one less step than having to potentially put it on a palette or on my hand first. You know, if I'm worried about how much pigment, a lot of those liquid blushes have a lot of pigment. Not only that, but I just have so many powder blushes that I have to get through, and liquid blushes just go bad faster. Same with cream blushes. So I was happy with my Chanel cream blushes this year. I hope the Bisciotto Bobo foundation brush is released again. I waited too long and then it was sold out. Fude's Like a Lady. I hope so too. It's a great one. I do think that she had a second release of it. So, you know, she might release it again a third time. I'll definitely keep a lookout. It's definitely more of a collector's item. Not a brush I would recommend necessarily for beginners. I have the window open to get some air in here and my neighbor's dog is barking. So hopefully that doesn't get too annoying for y'all. I wonder if it's barking because it hears my voice. That color on you, is it a good shade match? It looks like it is, right? I know it's darker than my actual like face, but it's because I don't self-tan my face. Melissa said, same, I really loved creams in the summer and quick looks. I'm back to powders now that it's colder out. Okay, interesting. Everybody's skin is different too. Like some people get more dry in the winter, so they use more cream products. I get slightly drier in the winter, but still an oily skin girly all around. The brush that I'm using, this is a Fude Bobo collaboration with Bisciotto. It's a hand bundled Japanese makeup brush and it's Kalinsky hair. Mr. Bisciotto hand bundled these brushes himself and he is now in his 80s. So it's a very exquisite brush. They were released in small batches this past year. I don't think that they're available anymore. They might be sold out, but I'll keep a lookout if they are re-released because you're not the only one that has expressed interest in this brush. And unfortunately, with these brushes that are made in small batches, a lot of times they sell out and then they do come back in stock periodically. Let's do concealer, yeah? Sarah Creel, very nice brush. Thank you so much. I know it's such an exquisite brush. It was definitely a splurge for me. It's more so of a collector's item, I would say, given the price tag. I would not necessarily recommend it for people who I guess don't really see the value in hand bundled Japanese makeup brushes. It definitely took me a while to really appreciate the nature of hand bundled Japanese makeup brushes and just the craftsmanship and artisanship that goes behind them. All right, this is the Sarah Creel concealer here in the shade 4. And I think it goes for a whopping $50-ish or so. For two of these bad boys, it was about $100. I will say Sarah Creel can expand the shade range in her products. It is a new brand to Sephora. So this year, Sarah Creel released her products in Sephora, and she does market to a older generation of women, like 40s plus. Sarah Creel herself does have experience in the makeup industry. So you know what? I'm using this brush because I have it out as one of my favorites for the year, which is the BK Beauty and Nikki LaRose N14. And in comparison to the brush I was just using for foundation, they're like on opposite sides of the spectrum. Hey, Cindy. This one being super bougie and exquisite, and this one being not. Mass-produced, cheap. But you can see that we do not discriminate here. I like high-end to low-end brushes. I like all types of brushes, makeup brushes. I can't say the same for makeup products. But then again, not really, because I just use the NYX brow pen for my eyebrows. And for my eyebrow gel, I used the Maybelline Super Slick Black Brow Glue. So every once in a blue moon, I do use drugstore products. They're usually not for complexion though. They're usually like brow products, or like, you know, I might try like a mascara or something that is not high end, but that's about it. Lip liner, eyeliner, those don't necessarily, in my opinion, have to be high end. Even though if you were to ask me what my all-time favorites are, they're gonna be high end or luxury. I wanted to, had I remembered, I would have used this because I, along with the concealers, purchased the CeraCreel brush, but I have not actually used this. I just keep forgetting. I will say it's soft. It's just pricey. Like, her stuff is pricey. And I don't mind paying like top dollar for products that are worth it. When it comes to complexion products, I will pay for what makes my complexion look as good as it can look. But I certainly don't think you need expensive brushes to do the job. I just collect brushes and it's kind of just like a hobby for me. So now that we have that on, I think, should we do a little bit? I think I'm gonna do a little bit more right here. I'm just gonna mix a little bit of the shade 4 with the shade 5 on the forehead area, just because, like I said, shade 5 is more of my actual skin tone. I don't have any complaints about this little brush, y'all, so far using it, other than the price. I like the fact that it's gold. I'm a gold lover. I will always choose gold over silver. It's nice and soft, I will say. It's just a synthetic brush, and just knowing how cheaply made these, like, you know, mass manufactured brushes are, I just think that companies can take advantage and hike up the prices on them. That's kind of my only complaint when it comes to this brush, but I'm not going to say it's a bad brush if you've been eyeing it. Like I said, I've been really enjoying this BK Beauty Nikki LaRose N14 brush, not only to spread my concealer out, but also set my concealer with powder, just because of the size and of the shape. It just is a really quick way of getting makeup on the face, and like me, that just needs to slap on makeup and get out the door. That's what I want, is efficient makeup brushes, right? For loose powder here, this year a new to me loose powder was the Makeup by Mario one that was released, right? That was like all the rave. I'm not gonna say it's like the best powder of all time though. I'm still biased and will always love my Huda Beauty setting powder. I'm not even going to talk about the Givenchy one because it's discontinued and we're all so sad about that. The Chanel one is amazing, so really been enjoying the Chanel one. I do think that new to me this year as far as setting powders go were the La Prairie ones. So I know that they were not released this year, but they were new to me this year. They're perfecting powders more so than I feel like they're mattifying. And so for me, because I have an oily T-zone, I know that I can really rely on like the Huda Beauty, the Easy Bake setting powder for oil control. And then there are other powders that I like to just perfect around the face and blur. And that's where a powder like the La Prairie powder would come in, or Chanel loose powder. Do I like her concealer over the Westman Atelier? Oh, Cindy, why would you ask me that? That's hard. That's hard. Okay, so Cindy's asking me if I prefer the CeraCreel over the Westman Atelier. I've only used each of them a handful of times. So with that caveat, You know, I use them for different reasons. The Westman Atelier one has a slight peachy undertone, at least in the shade that I have it in, which is M2. And I like that for color correcting. The Face Flex has really been surprising me though. And when I've used the Face Flex and I've taken photos and I look back on them and just like how it wears throughout the day, even after it's been on my skin for hours, I want to say that the finish is better than the Westman Atelier, surprisingly. But they're so close. They're so close to each other that's difficult for me to even say. Thank you for asking, Cindy. That was a good question. Pressed powders this year. I tried the Prada Compact, which, oh, this is the year that Hourglass also came out with their pressed powder, right? Their compact powder. Trying to think what other compacts came out. Oh, Laura Mercier came out with a compact powder this year with a pressed powder. One of the fails for me from Sarah Creel was the sunscreen, the sunblock. It didn't work for me only because of my particular skin preferences and needs. Because I'm so oily, that sunblock has a glow. And I just try to stay away from glowy products. I just think that they emphasize my texture. So that was a fail for me. And I just could not justify keeping it for the price that I paid for it. So that one went back. But I know Sun has been enjoying it. She likes glowier products. The Lippy is hydrating. I heard somebody review the lipstick from Sarah Creel and she wasn't impressed with it. She was impressed with the concealer, not impressed with the lipstick. She said that to her it was like the same as a cheaper lipstick, but I have not tried the Sarah Creel lipsticks. I'm curious too. I like the names that she used for them. I didn't expect the Mario powder to work out for me as well as it did. I was saying in a live earlier, I think it was in my last live, that because it's talc free, I don't know why in my mind I wasn't expecting it. And I'm using the Makeup by Mario loose powder right now, just because I have it in front of me to set. In my mind, I was thinking that taking away talc would take away a powder's ability to mattify, because that being my impression with the Laura Mercier powders when they took out talc in their powder formula. And then they came out with that blurring one that was talc free, and I just didn't like it as much as the original. But then again, I've been going back to the original Laura Mercier one, and for some reason it just doesn't hit as good as Huda Beauty and other setting powders. So maybe it's not the talc. I don't know. I also picked this up from Makeup by Mario this past year. It's all right. Honestly, the only reason I picked this one up is because I was running out of my Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. And because, again, I'm oily, I heard that this was a better option. The liquid version was a better option for people with oily skin like me. But look at how much I've used in the Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I actually panned it, so I'm pretty proud of myself. And so I decided to go with this instead of repurchasing this one. Yeah, the Hourglass powders, you can't go wrong with those, especially if you have a drier skin type, for sure. There isn't anything that I would say from the Mario line that like is totally holy grail that I cannot live without. But there are some that I would say I recommend. I recently purchased a couple more of his lipsticks because I was pleasantly surprised with the reformulation of his lipsticks. The first time that he released lipsticks, they weren't all that great. I picked one up, but this new reformulation really was a step up. Starting to get harsh on my loose powders. You only have 4 that stand out. Which other ones other than House Labs Peach? Have you tried the Chanel? I know it's bougie, but she's top tier for me when it comes to loose powders. I have 2 of those, the shades 20 and the shades 30. Okay, Elizabeth likes the serum bronzer from Mario. You got the lighter shade and you use it all over. Yeah, I erred on the side of lighter for me as well. I got the shade medium, even though I could probably go with medium tan. But that was kind of my thought process too, Elizabeth, as if like if something is too light for me, I figured I could just mix this in or use this all over the perimeter of the face. I will say what really did intrigue me about this, that I do give props to Mario for, is the fact that this is the first time that I've personally ever seen something packaged the way this is packaged, in the sense that he gave us the option to use a doe foot or to use the liquid. And because I have this out right now, I might as well use it, even though I probably should have used it before I powdered. That's how stuff starts to get cakey. But at the same time, when I find a formula that is like a liquid or a cream that can nicely sit on top of powder products, that's how you know they're good and they're impressive, right? Like if you use a cream or a liquid blush on top of where you've already powdered and it doesn't get patchy or lift up the product underneath, that's how you know it's a good formula. Like the Westman Atelier cream formulas, those are good at not being finicky and playing well with others. When in doubt, I like to just use my little palette here if I'm nervous about applying it directly on the face, especially if I've already powdered. And then I'll take a more like flat brush, like either side of this Makeup by Mario F4 brush, which I've also been using out of this past year. So I will say that this is one of my favorite brushes too. But that's what I did enjoy about the Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer, or whatever it's called, that I was able to put it on top of powders, even if I had already powdered, and it was fine. Maybe because it's not very oily in its consistency or something like that, so it didn't break down easily any products underneath. Sometimes it's inevitable and you just have to kind of mess with it and see what happens. If you're not super into cream bronzers, or creams tend to scare you, like that went on pretty effortlessly if y'all saw how easily that blended out. So I appreciate that about these formulas by Mario, and they're easier to work with than like his stick cream products, like the cream contours and cream blushes. Those are just more pigmented, and these are just less pigmented and easier to work with. I like cleansers of all different types, but right now I've been into Shiseido and Tatcha for my cleansers, but I've tried so many and I have a ton that I just like rotate and alternate among. I also like to use balms to remove my makeup, and then like when I double cleanse. Pharmacy, exactly. Pharmacy is a good one. So is Elemis, their cleansing balm. Love Elemis's cleansing balm. It has a scent, but it's such a lovely scent. Tatcha's cleansers also sometimes have scents, but I just love them. They smell so good. Ooh, speaking of rose water, I have the Chantecaille Pure Rose Water, Rose de Mai. Very bougie. I did purchase this past year during the Sylvie sale, and I probably would not repurchase given the price tag. Once is good enough for me. Is quite the luxury experience to use rose water. Because I have oily skin, it's not an essential step for me, so I had no business buying this, but I got sucked into the beautiful packaging. Shout out to my mom for bringing me this fan over from her trip to Europe. Said the one thing I want is a fan for my makeup, and she delivered. I was more into using Tatcha face products when I was on Accutane and my skin was really dry. After I got off Accutane and my skin got just back to its oily state again, I stopped really caring too much about sprays and moisturizers and cleansers and stuff, just because if you have oily skin, you know the struggle. And thank you for letting me know that I'm not the only one that got clowned and purchased this, because it's pricey. Like they squeeze rose petals into this bottle that they grow in the south of France. And what I heard is that the field of roses that they use to make this spray is right next to the same area where Chanel gets their roses to make rose water too. I have dryness around the mouth too, Keisha, especially when I use tretinoin. So that's why every once in a while I'll mention that I have combination skin, and that's only because on the surface I do get some flakes and some creases, especially if I have just used tretinoin. You know what? I'm just gonna do a lip liner real quick right now because I can't stand to see my lips without anything on them. I've been enjoying this Tom Ford lip liner in the shade Irresistible, which is the shade 103. However, it's very bougie for a lip liner. The price is up there. Tom Ford did recently come out with lip liners this past year, and they do stay put, I will say, but they can certainly benefit from a shade expansion. They need more shades, like I said, because they just came out with them this past year. You know, maybe that's coming, hopefully. But as far as lip liners go, Makeup Forever also came out with their like more long-lasting version of their lip liners, which I do appreciate because I do think that was needed. and missing, and it filled in that gap in the Makeup Forever line, especially for a brand that gears their products more towards makeup artists. I think that it's good to have different options. MAC Cosmetics came out with some new shades this year in their lip liners, and I like MAC Cosmetics lip liners. My favorite one out of the new shades that they released is the shade Grige. And you know, I did say I was planning on doing a red lip today, so I could have definitely just gone in and used a red lip liner, but I could still do a red lippy even after prepping my lips this way. If you're talking about a lip liner from Lisa Eldridge, I have the Enhance and Define lip pencil, but this is the only lip pencil that I have from her. I have an eyeliner from Lisa Eldridge and a liquid lipstick from her and an eyeshadow palette from her. But I don't have too much Lisa Eldridge stuff, and that's something that I probably do want to venture out more into, the Lisa Eldridge brand this upcoming year. Same with Vive. I use so many moisturizing hydrating products to counteract the 0.1. I know, seriously, tretinoin is such a love and hate, right? It has so many benefits, but they're more long-term benefits. Oh, another thing that I tried out this year was the Victoria Beckham contour stick and the NARS came out with some shadow sticks. I was asked the other day on a live which eyeshadow sticks I recommend other than Bobbi Brown and Laura Mercier, and I said Victoria Beckham had some good ones, and then NARS. I only picked up one. I picked up the shade Oblivion because I wanted to use it more of like a contour stick, and I thought this had like a good neutral or like neutral to cool undertone, as you can see. Something I forgot to mention from Sarah Creel that I tried this year too, since Sarah Creel just came to Sephora this year, is this lip primer, and I have been enjoying it. It's such a random product to talk about a lip primer, but particularly when I'm doing a more dramatic lip look, like a bright red lip, that's where that comes in handy, to fill in the lines and to keep my lippy put, especially because I wear my retainers. Since I had braces earlier this year, my dad did my braces and he tells me I have to wear my retainers during the day for at least 3 years. So I'm not wearing them right now, but a lot of things transfer on my retainers, and that lip primer helps. As an eyeshadow primer base today, I just used the Chantecaille one. Oh, thank you for letting me know that, Peach. I didn't know that this was a re-release from the 90s. Love that. Cindy, you and I are like the same. I collect, you know, my weakness is not only with lip liners that I keep collecting. Speaking of new shades and lip liners that I love picking up lip liners all the time too. Grige Attitude shade 303 in Dior. Dior came out with new shades in their lip liners this year too, and I really do love this new Grige Attitude shade. But I agree with you, Cindy. I don't use them enough either. And that is especially true for me when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, that I keep collecting eyeshadow palettes. Like when Natasha Denona comes out with a new color story, this is like so tempting and I always get sucked in, or like the Makeup by Mario one. But the truth of the matter is I just don't reach for these large eyeshadow palettes as much as I do quads and singles and trios and just like duos. Lately, MAC is a classic. Yes, I think MAC will always be a classic, right? Ooh, body glitter. Oh yeah, I do have a body glitter from Tom Ford. It's good. Spray glitter, love that. I use it on special occasions. It wasn't a need, but I never had braces before growing up, and I noticed that my bottom teeth started to shift. I remember telling my dad, like, why? I've never had crooked teeth before. Like, why am I starting to get crooked teeth now? And he's like, it's normal as we get older. Sometimes as adults, our teeth just shift and start to move. So, but I just wanted to open up my palette too. I talked to him about Invisalign, and he said Invisalign will make your teeth like just more straight, like align them. So if they're like jagged, they'll align them. But he's like, I just personally would recommend braces more just because the outcome will be better. He says the braces will expand your palette more, push this area out a little bit more that tends to kind of sink in with age, and just give a better appearance overall. Whiten out the whole smile so you can see more teeth when you smile. So I just begrudgingly agreed to braces after he informed me of all of that. So for me, it was more about looks, not a necessity. but I had never had them before, so it was my first time. I enjoy the MAC lip primer. That one's a good one too, Keisha. I will say that the Sarah Creel might be a little bit of a step up, but it's hard to say because lip primers are just lip primers, you know? What I was saying is Vive. I know that as soon as I try Vive products, I'm gonna like them and just gonna want everything from Vive. I want to try more Lisa Eldridge too this upcoming year, hopefully. But I try to get everything on sale, so I wait for sales. The Guerlain's lip primer. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, Sylvia. Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I did try the Guerlain lip primer. I don't think it's new, but it's new to me this year. And I was pleasantly surprised. I really do like this Guerlain lip primer as well. These are two good lip primers. And lip primers, in my opinion, are not talked about enough. They're kind of underrated in the beauty community. I don't see very many people talk about them or use them. The Guerlain one cancels out the lip color, which is helpful for certain looks. Interesting. I hadn't even noticed that the Guerlain has that effect. But as you can see, that makes sense because look at the difference in just the tone right away. See? Yeah, that Guerlain one does look like it would. It's a little bit more dry too of a formula, the Guerlain one. But yeah, if you have pigmented lips, that might be a good one to check out. Guerlain tends to have fragrance in their products though, so this one has a little bit of fragrance. It doesn't bother me too much though. I'm not one to be super picky about fragrances in my makeup products. If the product is good and it has fragrance, I'll still use it, and sometimes I even enjoy it, even though I know it's not bad, like it's not the best. Like this is another lip gloss that I tried this year, Tom Ford, and I didn't want to like it because I told myself I didn't need such an expensive clear lip gloss, but it's good. Like, Tom Ford just has the best lip gloss formulas, I think, in my opinion, of all time. But it was limited edition, so I don't know if they still have it, but honestly, I have like all the shades in the Tom Ford lip gloss and they're all good. So let's get into eyeshadow, shall we? You were looking for a nicer way to say it, but blend out the forehead. Oh, thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. No, you don't have to. Listen, don't sugarcoat stuff up in here. Be honest with me. Tell me how it is. You know what I usually do, and that's why it's looking weird, because that's where my hairline is. And what I usually do is take this little brush right here and blend it into the hairline like that. And I hadn't gotten a chance to do that yet. But thank you, Peach. Please don't ever like be afraid to like hurt my feelings or anything like that. Seriously, I have really thick skin. So thank you for letting me know. If I forget to blend something, that's like, I'm notorious for that on lives. And then actually that brings me to another tip. Yeah, you guys telling me stuff like that, like if I already have a solution, might be useful for some people. I heard Mario say the same thing about when he does the Kardashians makeup and their hair is already done. He's like, I just have to go in with smaller brushes around the hairline. And then another way that I like to blend that in further is by taking this little Color Wow. I just love this thing. You could just use a brown eyeshadow, but I've tried other hairline fillers that I'm just not as impressed with. Like for instance, this little Bumble and Bumble. So if you have that same problem, I'll oftentimes wear my hair in a slick back bun for work. And I like to like fill in my hairline. This is just like more of a waxy formula. And their dark shade just leaned a little bit too cool. And I have like a very dark, warm, black, demi-permanent dye in my hair right now. So it has to be like the right undertone. It has a number of shades. Even when I was blonde for a decade in my 20s. And they have one for blondes. So when I started to get roots, it would just kind of help. And I just like to help fill my hairline in with this. And that just kind of helps make it look like I don't have such a bald spot right there. Hopefully that looks better. And then once my hair is down, I kind of then start to fix my hairline more. But thank you for that. Keep it real. I'm a lawyer. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. Keep it real. Like I have super thick skin because of my day job. It's hard for me to get offended. I was gonna say, this is another product. Y'all remember this Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette? That was just like the perfect neutral tones. And this was obviously before we just had Natasha Denona release one, right? That's very similar. They remind me of each other actually, now that I have them here together. They're very different formulas though. This one, the Charlotte Tilbury one, said limited edition. And it's been up on the Sephora website for years, and it still probably says limited edition. This is one that I was tempted to get a backup of in case it just gets discontinued. I don't know why sometimes things say limited edition and they just like stay up on there, but it's not deceiving. Some of them start out as limited edition, but then it sells super well. So then someone like Sephora would step in and request it become a more permanent product. Yeah, Peach, that's true. I could see that. But then they should like not leave on there that it's limited edition, you know? They should just, once they decide that it's going to be permanent, take off the limited edition title, adding some of the perfecting powders. Once I've already kind of set in place my concealer, this is where I'll start to add powders on top that I know aren't really going to be setting my makeup in place, but just helping to keep the oil at bay, to keep the shininess at bay, and to give still that perfected finish. All right, I'm gonna go into the eyeshadow now. And as far as if we wanna be still talking about like the best releases of the year, I have the Sonia G Japanese Tea Garden brushes here, and I'm gonna start out by going into this really neutral shade. Thank you so much, y'all, for the compliments on my complexion. That means a lot to me. It's my favorite part of my beauty routine is complexion. And that's really what got me into makeup in the first place, is the fact that I've always, since puberty, suffered with acne, cystic acne. When I was younger, I just started to wear makeup because I was so insecure about it. How am I finding the La Prairie powder? It's okay. I was mentioning earlier that it's possible that it's slightly overpriced. It's very expensive for what it is. And I will say that I like the fact that a little bit goes a really long way, and it comes with like a mini too. So they give you a lot of product quantity wise. So that is something to consider to help justify the price. I'm not going to say that it's absolutely necessary to have. I could definitely replace the La Prairie with other tried and true setting powders, like my Huda Beauty one. That's a lot less expensive. I used to love the Givenchy one, but we're not going to talk about that because they reformulated it. If you want to use a different setting powder that's higher end but not as expensive as the La Prairie, I would recommend the Chanel loose powder. That has a beautiful finish to it as well that is comparable. I also really like the Chantecaille loose setting powder as well. I always forget to talk about that one, but that one's really good. And it's talc free. For those of you that are allergic to talc, is also just like a controversial ingredient. I was going back and forth about whether I needed this too. If you kept the mini, you're good, girl. Yes, I have tried the Chanel loose powder, Chic Brooklyn Beauty. Thank you for asking. That's what I was talking about. I liked it enough to pick up two. The shade 20 is like the most popular one that's always sold out. So I have the shade 20 and the shade 30. And it's good. I do recommend it. I try to use it sparingly because she's bougie, and not as much in quantity comes in that product when you buy it, unlike the La Prairie one. 40 grams of product, but it also comes with a mini, and I don't know how many grams the mini is, but I definitely think you get more of this than you do with the Chanel loose powder, which is 30 grams. And usually I'm not one to measure grams. If y'all have ever heard me say that, I think comparing grams can tend to lead into a fallacious argument, because sometimes it just feels like you're comparing apples to oranges. But when it comes to loose powders, I do think that there is something to say for the comparison in grams. We should do a gently used / new makeup swap or sell before the year ends, maybe. That's a good idea, Brittany. I know that people hesitate to like swap and sell beauty products, like makeup products, but I definitely think it should be more normalized, because a lot of it then will just go to waste. And there's a way to be clean about it. Spray alcohol on eyeshadow palettes and stuff like that. Okay, I'm gonna do the sparkly shades now in this eyeshadow palette, the Bisciotto and Fude Bobo collab brush. This was released this year too. This is a Kolinsky flat shader brush here. I kind of want to layer both of these sparkly shades. Oh my gosh, y'all see that? Pigment. She's chunky. That glitter. That is a chunky glitter. Yeah, I'm intrigued by the YSL powder blushes that I've seen online. Chanel needs to expand their olive tones wider than just Le Beige foundation. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Brands need to do better about their olive shades. We did talk about that in my last live, that I used the Chanel Le Beige foundation, and we did bring up the fact that they did expand their shade range this past year and did add some olive tones, and we would love to see it in the rest of their foundation formulas. Dior does great with olive tones. I agree with that. Yeah, totally. And you know, I was pleasantly surprised too with the Valentino foundation that did really well for olive undertones as well. I never do sparkly eyeshadows, so every time I do sparkly eyeshadows, it just trips me out to see them on myself. I'm gonna go in with this super thin little pointy brush here. This one right here, it has a slight bit of sparkle. Just kind of giving that my crease area more dimension and depth. And I'm taking the matte brown shade here, and I'm just gonna kind of smoke out the outer V area. The Westman Atelier, should I put that on today? The Westman Atelier red. I have two. So I have the more like orangey red shade, and then I also got the other red shade in this trio, which is this one, which by the way, y'all, is on sale right now at Sephora. That Westman Atelier trio, I highly recommend it, and you can find the link to that on my LTK. The link is in my bio. So if you're interested, please send me a DM and I'll be happy to send you the direct link. I'm just going right in today. I haven't even finished my eyes, and look at me. I just got really excited. I will say the other red shade that I have that's more of like an orangey red is gorgeous too. It's just a completely different red. Oh my gosh, rocks. The formula is so good in these lipsticks. I highly recommend these lipsticks, honestly. As I'm applying it, it feels creamy, as if it's a satin lipstick formula, but it dries down matte, yet it remains very comfortable on the lips, and it's transfer proof. It stays put. I love how it is also very flattering on the lip. You can't go wrong with the colors that they put in there too, the shades, and the fact that they're limited edition packaging as well. You see it's like a tan. It's pretty. I love the packaging. This is the other red shade that I have, and this shade is in Le Rouge, but the one that I have on my lips is in the shade Dash. This one also comes with a newly released limited edition shade in the shade Fluffy, which is this really pretty pink nude. They already had these two in their line, but you see it's different, and I like them both. We were talking in my last live about how I want to start to branch out more and do more bold lip looks in 2025, because as y'all know, I'm a lawyer but a true homebody. So really the only places I go are court and church. I never get the chance to play with sparkly eyeshadow because I just can't rock this to court. And when it comes to lips, as you can see, I really like to perfect my lips, especially when I do these bright shades like this. And when I'm always in a rush doing my makeup, I just don't want to risk getting like a red lip on my suits or anything like that. So I just tend to do nude every day. Does a new red make your teeth look yellow? You can tell me. I don't think so. This is not a new shade though. This shade was already in their regular line. Oh, y'all, I recommend these Q-tip type things that you can get on Amazon. I should have these on my Amazon storefront at the link in my bio, but I swear by these. They're little nail teas, they're called, and they're for nails, and I also use them to like clean up my cuticles and stuff like that, which I did my nails for, y'all. Look, I did magnetic, like velvetized nails. I don't know if you can see that shift. But anyway, that's another thing I'm trying to get into more in the year 2025 is red nails. I used to just avoid red. I don't know why. It's just hard to like remove and everything, you know? And yes, this is a Mooncat nail polish. Thank you. I like how reds that have a blue undertone make our teeth look whiter. I've been eyeing this one lipstick from, it's a red from Clé de Peau that I heard is really good. So that's on my wish list. Hey JP, all my brothers are showing up for me, y'all, today. If y'all didn't know, I have 5 brothers, no sisters. Which false lashes do I use? Lashify, and I just became a Lashify affiliate. So y'all can get Lashify now for 20% off. I just did my lashes before this. They're little cluster chunks of lashes, and I have a YouTube video. If you just search on my YouTube channel, MakeupEsquire Lashify, have a tutorial and I show you how I do my lashes. And it's basically an at-home eyelash extension system, but way better. And I swear by it. I have my lashes on 24/7. I'd rather leave my house without makeup than leave without my eyelashes. And I leave them on pretty much a week at a time, but I've gotten away with up to 3 weeks, 2 weeks easily. And I love them. I don't feel them. They're attached underneath my real eyelashes, so it doesn't take up any lid space. I shower with them, I work out with them, I cry, and they don't budge. And the glue doesn't dry down like fully, so it doesn't actually mess up your real eyelashes. I swear by it. It's changed my life. My link is in my bio. Lashify. There's a little bit of a learning curve when you're initially learning, but once you get it down, you'll love it. This look is giving like more sophisticated. New bronzers that came out this year. Did the YSL one come out this year? It might have. The only thing I will say about this one, and I have the shade 3, is that it leans a little bit warm on me. Maybe it'll work since I'm self-tan now. I have been enjoying the Hourglass one. I have both of the Dragon and the Evil Eye palettes, and they're good. But as far as a bronzer brush for the year that I've been using, I used, by the way, the people that said that they liked the Giorgio Armani bronzer, I used it in my last live. I like the fact that it had an olive undertone, but I was not aware that it was made in China. And it has a little bit of a sparkle in it, which I'm kind of like conflicted about because I have oily skin, so I tend to gravitate more towards matte bronzers as opposed to glowy bronzers. One of my all-time favorite bronzers is the Chantecaille bronzer. And we talked last time about how this year Chantecaille came out with a new shade in their bronzer in their Sunstone collection, which I still think is available online. And you can also find this linked in my LTK. DM me if you want any of these links. I'm happy to send them to you. I do have affiliate links, so thank you so much for supporting my channel by using any of my affiliate links. I really appreciate it. I really am a big fan of Chantecaille products in general, makeup products, and their bronzers are really good. They gave us a new shade in their bronzer this year in their Sunstone collection, which I was a fan of and picked up with my own money. I was saying that I was so excited that I got a PR package from Chantecaille that I still haven't even opened it. I got it like a week ago in the mail because I've just been, I don't know, like I'm still just shocked and just pleasantly surprised, and I want to make content out of it, but I want to just like do it right. And I've been back and forth about whether I want to like unbox it live with y'all or if I want to do it on a backyard chats or just like a regular unboxing in my stories, or if I want to do a YouTube video. Sylvia suggested I should do a YouTube video on it. It's just that it takes a while because my editor doesn't have all the time in the world. I might do a reel, like a short. I don't know, we'll see. But I wanna try to do that justice since I'm just so excited to unbox that. You keep eyeing the Refer brush. You're talking about the one that I just used, the maple one. If it's still in stock, I highly recommend it. I know that it was out of stock for a while and then they brought it back, but this was definitely going to be making one of my top 5 favorite makeup brushes for the year because I used the heck out of this. Very happy with the fact that Refer gave us such a beautiful release this year. I have to buy the refill. Oh yeah, the Valentino bronzer. I agree with you. It's so silly that it's so expensive for one. I got the refill, so I have the refill, and that alone is $50. I think maybe it was Gila. You just decided to get the full clutch. I would love to hear your thoughts on it if you actually bought the actual packaging, but I just have the refill. I don't showcase this one that much on my channel because my main complaint is that it only comes in one shade, which they call universal. Other than that, I really do like it. If it happens to be your shade, I do recommend it, even though you're gonna pay $50 for this refill. It does come with a little brush, but I mean, who's gonna use that? I don't. At least it has a lid on it, you know, unlike Prada's refills that don't come with lids, I don't think. A lot of refill packaging doesn't come as like a little container in and of itself. But I'm obsessed with the Valentino blushes. And this is the same formula as the Valentino blushes. As you can see, I have pretty much every shade in them. Oh, I did pick up the highlighter too. Is this the highlighter? Yeah, it is the highlighter, which is limited edition as well. I should use this today. I haven't pulled that one out in a while. This is the Valentino foundation that I've talked about and have done content with on here before, and I am in MN3, and this is a great olive shade for me if I am shade twins with anybody on here who's curious. All right, I'm just gonna finish the eyes real quick, and then I'm gonna have to run, y'all. So I could be on here forever. At the end of these lives, I'm always rushing. I'm just adding a little bit of that matte brown on my bottom waterline. Hopefully tie this look together. This one was discontinued. This is the Tom Ford Badass Black Mascara in Badass Black. Very disappointed that they took this mascara off the market, but I'm using the rest of mine, and I do think I have a backup or two. You know which packaging I really enjoy, and I think that brands should take some notes in powder blushes, at least, since we're talking about that? Laura Mercier. I gave my mom a little Laura Mercier duo with a travel size blush and a little, like a full size cream eyeshadow stick as one of her Christmas presents. And the little blush was just like a mini version of their full size blushes. It was adorable, except it wasn't like magnetic as a closure. But I have always loved how sleek these magnetic blushes are, and just these Laura Mercier blushes are. I mean, you have the mirror there, you have the blush there, you don't have all that extra junk and weight. It's luxe, it's clean, it's perfect, right? And it doesn't take up too much room. This Dior blush, isn't that pretty? I think that'll go better with the lip look that we have going on today. So let me use this. I didn't even have time to do a nose contour today, so we're just gonna go without it. And then I'm gonna have to run, y'all. This was not released this year, this Fude Bobo brush, but this is my preferred brush for highlight lately. I'm just using the Valentino highlighter. And then that's gonna be pretty much it for today. I was gonna do like an inner corner highlight that I always do, but we already have a lot of glitter going on in the inner corner, don't we? So I'll just hit the brow bone real quick. Tip of the nose, and we'll call it. It makes me really happy when things work out for y'all that I recommend. All right, y'all. Well, that's the look. Thank you so much to everybody who joined the live. I had so much fun, like I always do on these lives with y'all. Bye, everyone. Love you.